there friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and in this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. During the night between the 20th and the 21st of January of 2026, both the Russians and the Ukrainians were attacking each other with missiles and drones. The Ukrainian side is saying that during the previous night the Russians launched 98 drones and 84 out of them were brought down by the air defense system of the armed forces of Ukraine. At the same time, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation stated that Ukrainians launched much more drones in comparison with the Russian side. The Russians are saying that just between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m., the armed forces of Ukraine launched 53 drones and 29 of them were destroyed above the Azov Sea, and seven of them were destroyed above the Krasnodar Krai. Furthermore, this morning the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation clarified the situation, and they added that between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. Ukrainians launched 75 additional drones and 45 of them were destroyed in the area of the city of Krasnodar. As for the city of Krasnodar itself, as you can see, this morning we received lots of updates from this territory. Local sources published lots of videos where we can see the consequences of Ukraine's attack. Lots of cars, as you can see, were destroyed. Something like a parking site was destroyed as a result of attack with the Ukrainian drone. So this is the same place but from another angle. So we see there's just a fire and several vehicles destroyed. Maybe when talking about this video we can see that probably not just the parking site was destroyed, it seems that this building was also damaged. Later, the local sources stated that as of the morning of the 21st of January of 2026, there are 11 injured and 15 cars were completely burned out. In fact, Krasnodar was the main target of the Ukraine armed forces last night. Out of 75 drones launched by the Ukrainians against Russian territory, 45 were shot down over Krasnodar Krai. So we are talking about the report that was published by the Minister of Defense. And we have another video. Here we can see how exactly the Ukrainians were attacking this territory, and here we see how exactly the air defense forces of the armed forces of the Russian Federation were working during the previous night. So, which means all these things are telling us just about one thing, that we are going to see additional escalation in coming days, and most likely the Russians will strike back, but this time with a bigger number of missiles and drones. Furthermore, pro-Ukrainian sources this morning stated that Russia has planned to launch Oreshnik within a week. It is currently unknown whether this will be training launches with the Kapustin Yar test range or launches with individually guided separable units to strike potential targets on the territory of Ukraine. Furthermore, the sources are saying that the Russians may use up to 2 Oreshnik systems at the same time. Another important update. During the previous 12 hours, we received additional updates about the situation in Kiev. According to Mayor of Kiev, Klitschko, in January alone, 600,000 people fled the Ukrainian capital. Kiev is on the road to a humanitarian catastrophe. So he is trying to tell us that Ukrainians, due to the situation with energy supply, due to power outages, decided to leave the city of Kiev further in the western direction towards more reliable positions where the Ukrainians can have access to the electricity. This is a very big problem for the city of Kiev because there are high chances that these Ukrainians may not return back. Furthermore, the President of Ukraine, Zelensky, stated that in Kiev alone more than 1 million customers are without power as of the evening. A significant number of homes are without heat, Zelensky said. Also, he emphasized that the situation with electricity and power outages in Kiev is the responsibility of the armed forces of Ukraine. So basically, Zelensky blamed the Ukraine army with this situation. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground. During the previous 12 hours, we received lots of very important videos and I would like to discuss them with you. First, let's talk about the city of Zaporozhye. This is another city that was attacked by Russia during the previous 12 hours. In this video, we can see a very powerful explosion that took place somewhere around the city of Zaporozhye, and it seems, according to this explosion, that something big was destroyed, probably that was ammo depot. At the same time, we received lots of important videos from the city by the name of Debaltseva. This city is located between the cities of Donetsk and Lugansk, and this is the territory that is under control of the armed forces of the Russian Federation. According to information we have, during the previous night, the Ukrainians also attacked this city. Here we can see a very heavy explosion. The sources are saying that Ukrainians, as a result of attack, managed to destroy a very huge ammo depot. Here we can see a secondary detonation. The sources are saying that there were lots of explosions during the night between the 20th and the 21st of January of 2026. Furthermore, the Russians published another very important video from the area of the city of Kharkiv. In this video, we can see how the Russians, as a result of reconnaissance operation, managed to discover huge concentration of forces of the armed forces of Ukraine. Here we can see lots of vehicles, here we can see lots of tanks, here we can see some multiple launch rocket systems, artillery systems, and when the Russians discovered this position, the Russians began bombing and attacking this territory with Iskander missiles. Furthermore, the sources are saying that the Russians during this video managed to discover the position of M270 multiple launch rocket system. So there were two strikes with Iskander. The first strike destroyed this site itself, and the second strike destroyed this next site where the Ukrainians were redeployed. Another important video is coming from the Sumy region. Here we can see almost the same story. This time the Russians managed to discover the launching site of drone operators of the armed forces of Ukraine. Here we can see several vehicles, here we can see several launching sites, and when the Russians discovered these positions, the Russians attacked this territory also with an Iskander missile. So as you can see, these days we are receiving lots of videos of this type. The Russians are bombing and attacking the territory along the line of combat contact, which makes very difficult for Ukrainians to concentrate additional forces, reinforcements, and to keep reserves in these areas. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground, and first let's talk about the Zaporozhye direction. During the previous 12 hours, additional changes on the ground were recorded around the village of Zaliznychne. These are the changes on the ground between the dates. This is the end of the 20th of January, and this is the beginning of the 21st of January. The Russians, as you can see, according to different pro-Russian sources, managed to improve their position significantly around the settlement of Gulyai-Polye, and the Russians also began advancing from the south in the northern direction along railways in the direction of the settlement of Zaliznychne. So according to these changes, we can make a conclusion that the Russians are trying to cut the settlement of Zaliznychne in pincers from the south and from the east. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Dobropolye direction, where the Russian offensive operation is intensifying. During the previous 12 hours, additional changes on the ground were recorded around the settlement of Grishne. It seems that the battle for the settlement of Grishne enters its decisive phase. This is the situation by the end of the 19th, this is the end of the 20th, and this is the beginning of the 21st of January of 2026. The Russians during the previous 48 hours, as you can managed to improve their position significantly. Basically, we have colored everything that used to be considered as a gray zone. We have lots of videos and lots of proofs of how Russians were moving through the settlement of Grishna from its southeastern part towards its northwestern part. Now let's talk about the city of Konstantinovka. During the previous 12 hours, additional changes on the ground were recorded in this area as well. So this is the situation by the end of the 19th of January, this is the end of the 20th of January, and this is the beginning of the 21st of January. The Russians, according to pro-Russian sources, began offensive operation in the direction of the settlement by the name of Stepanovka from the southwest. The Russians improved their positions and captured these two lines right in front of the settlement itself. Another important video is coming from the city of Konstantinovka. Here we can see how Ukrainians were attacking positions of the armed forces of Ukraine in the southeastern part of the settlement. Lots of episodes, lots of explosions, and some of them were geolocated exactly in this area. So this is the building that was attacked by the armed forces of Ukraine during this video, which means that Russians during the previous days managed to improve their positions and to answer the city of Konstantinovka also from the eastern direction. So these are the changes on the ground between the 20th and the 21st of January. Another important video came from the area of the Zemlyanki micro-district of the city of Chasiv Yar. Here we can see the same story. Ukrainians were attacking Russians on this side. Based on this video, we have adjusted the map. So we see that the Russians continue advancing in the direction of the city of Konstantinovka, trying to tighten the news around the settlement itself and around its main logistic lines. As for the Slaviansk direction, the Russians continue offensive operation in the direction of the city of Liman. There are very heavy clashes. The Russians are using artillery and missiles to destroy Ukrainian positions, temporary deployment points, and launching sites of the active drone operators. But as you can see, as of the morning of the 31st of January of 2026, there are still no changes on the ground. As for the Kupiansk direction, nothing special. As for the northern Kharkiv direction, during the previous 12 hours, we received lots of videos of how the Russians were using heavy flamethrower system, TOS flamethrower system, which means that the Russians are about to begin their offensive operation in this area with the purpose to answer positions of the armed forces of Ukraine around the villages of Khatny and Malý Burluk. At the same time, we continue receiving videos from another very important region. We are talking about the foothold bridgehead between the, let's say, Liptsy and Volchansk direction. During the previous 12 hours, another video was published. Here we can see how Russians were bombing positions of the armed forces of Ukraine with aviation, with FAB bombs, which means that maybe the Russians are going to attack in this direction as well, with the purpose to answer the settlement of Ternova and to combine these two footholds on the Ukrainian side of the border. And that's it for the short video. Military with Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.